friends, and welcome to Three Girls, One Deck. So let's see who we have today in the chat. We're so excited. Oh, cool. We've got Beth, we've got Lala, we've got Tarot Student, we've got Tammy Pie, we've got Pamela. Hi, everybody.
Welcome.
Hello. We're so happy you're here. So today we decided to do like a seasonal theme because it's fall. I'm sorry, it's autumn. For Heather's benefit, I will say autumn because we keep talking about how British people don't say fall and like it's so so we're doing a theme today of autumn decks, and yeah, we're super excited about it. So hey Gerald, so welcome everyone, and I think Heather volunteered to go first.
I did, yes, purely because I was getting sick of us bowing and
Yeah.
getting the same thing every single time.
We need to figure out a different system because it never works.
Yeah.
We are not good at this. We are not good at. We must be the only people on the planet
who
cannot rock, paper, scissors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's supposed to be easy.
Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to be an easy way of deciding things. No, we each pick something different, and so nobody wins every time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I'll go first. So I'm going to talk about Tarot of the Divine, which I don't know how well you can see anything on here. So I do love this deck, but I'm going to start with two things that I don't like about this deck. And one of them you can probably guess if you know me.
I know.
So I don't like the card stuff.
That's linen.
But I like the way it feels, but I don't like how thick it is, and I don't like I don't like it. I'm trying to convince myself better, but I don't like it at all. But I do think it's really no, my other complaint, the guidebook. So one of the things that I love about this deck and why it's an autumn deck for me is because this, like, once it gets to autumn and it gets cooler and, I want to be inside more, that's when I am like really into reading more and watching more movies and like really starting to watch a lot more TV shows. So I have this connection in my brain between autumn and storytelling in some way. And this deck does that like brilliantly. Except that in order to get the stories, you have to buy a separate book because none of them are in the guidebook. And that does piss me off a little bit. Like, I get that it's, it's a business and they're trying to maximize their money-making ability and stuff. But I don't want to have to buy a separate book or spend hours on Google looking everything up in order to get the information that makes the deck more usable. Based on the theme that you've decided to make for your deck.
Yeah.
But there are loads of stories in it I recognize. There are loads of stories that I'm really, really interested in. So I love it. And I do think it's got really good sort of autumny colors. It's greens and browns and reds. I really don't know how well you can see this. I can't see it at all. So
I'm supposed to make you big. That's my fault. Yeah, that's 100% my fault because you're supposed to be big. So now I don't know why it's not working though.
Okay, I'll just carry on.
Julie, do you know how to fix it?
I can try.
You do.
Oh, there we go. Got it. There.
So Tammy Pie, the book is tarot friendly. When in the book, you basically get you get 4 cards, so 2 cards to a page, and you get the name of the story that the card is depicting and where it's from.
I think she means the big book because the big book is not ordered in any kind. Like if you do get the big book,
the book is
companion book. Yeah,
the companion book is not ordered according to tarot or have any references to the tarot cards. It's literally the big book is like just a story book. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. Like, and you could buy it separately from the deck and enjoy it just as a book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, I don't have the book because I refuse to buy it because I'm like ultimately, if I'm really interested in one of the stories in the cards, then that is what Google exists for, and I can look it up. And I want a guidebook that if you're going like in order to get the best use of your deck, I need to understand the stories that you've chosen to depict in your cards. Then tell me why you've chosen them.
Yeah.
Give me something.
Mhm.
But otherwise, I think it's beautiful. I think the artwork is stunning. I think it's a really diverse deck, which I love. Like I said, there are stories that I recognize. There are stories that I don't, but I'm interested in enough to go and look up. I love the strength card. Like, strength is one of my favorite cards, and it's Scottish. Like, how, like, you could not get any better than that. There are some cards that don't work for me so well. Like, I don't really understand how the choice that's been made between the artwork and the card.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I understood the stories better, I would.
Mm-hmm.
But I love reading with it, but also sometimes I just like to get it out, draw some cards, and then spend some time looking up the stories.
Mm-hmm.
And not actually using it as a tarot at all, just using it as a way to expand my knowledge of different stories from around the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because I actually owned this deck and the companion book at one time, and I actually ended up moving the deck along, and I did sell the companion book with it, but I actually got the Kindle version of the companion book because what I found was that the companion book had the artwork and it had the stories, and that was what I really wanted. Like, it wasn't really like a super usable deck for me. It could have been with more study, I feel like, but the companion book was like so awesome that I just wanted to have it as a book. So it's actually a really awesome book, just for
As a standalone.
Yeah, as a standalone, it's really cool.
I agree. I mean, I never bought the deck. I just bought the companion book because of the same reason. It's like a blow up page of each image. And I thought, well, if anything, I could use this like in terms of, like, I could use it for bibliomancy, right? If I wanted to, instead of having the deck, let me first read the stories, see how I feel about them. Ultimately, it is definitely structured in a way that it's meant to be standalone, like it's a storybook, because I feel like I would have a hard time using the companion book. You would have to look it up in a certain way because it's not by, major arcana, then minor arcana, then, the courts. That's not how at least my recollection, that's not how the actual Beneath the Moon book is ordered. So yeah, since it doesn't have any kind of like tarot references in that companion book, it was hard for me to use it in terms of a bibliomancy sense, because I would have to know what I mean. So ultimately I decided, I don't even know that I would be able to use this as a tarot, because how I am with themed decks. I feel like I would get too locked into each story. But ultimately it's beautiful art.
Yeah.
Beautiful book. Everything is great. And I agree that if you're going to sell a deck, you need a guidebook. You need to be able to sell a product where you can use it independently of having to buy something else.
Buy extras.
Extras that's not even tailored to the tarot. Like, that book is not tailored to using it with the deck, in my opinion.
Yeah. But I actually think, like, even irrespective of whether you get the stories with the book or you don't, I think the deck, just as a tarot deck, without knowing any of the stories, personally, I still think it works really, really well. I think the choices of imagery to cards in like 90% of cases, maybe even 95% of cases, I think they've done a fantastic job in matching up images with meanings of the cards. And it's only very rarely that I come across something and it's only a small thing that doesn't work for me. So, like, I've just come on one that's a really good example, actually. So I don't know how well you can see this, but the star, there's nothing hopeful about that card to me. It looks sad. When I turn this card over, I'm like, my immediate thought is that lamb dead? Like, is she grieving? Is she mourning? Like, none of that really fits in with how I read the star and my understanding of the star. And it's such a simple thing. It is just her facial expression doesn't quite match up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's little things like that. It's not even that I think the artwork is way off in any case. I don't think the artwork is way off on any card. There's just little things on very random cards where I think I wish that they'd done it slightly differently. But even if I had no idea that these were based on myths from stories from around the world, I still think it would work. It works as a really good deck.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what my one weird beef is? Well, that's not true. I mean, it didn't end up being a deck for me, but I think the title of this deck is totally wrong. Like Tarot of the Divine is just not a good title for this deck.
Yeah, exactly, for the theme.
Like in any way. Like nothing about this deck is specifically, I mean, some of the stories might have gods or goddesses or like address divinity in some way, but Tarot of the Divine is like just not a good title for the deck, I feel like. So that's my one silly beef with it. Like I just think that the title is not good. So.
Yeah, it is kind of misleading, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's super misleading.
Yeah, I think I mean, I don't know if there's anybody that does this. Like the idea that there are people who do this blows my mind a little bit, but there probably are. But if you were buying the deck purely based on its title with an expectation of what that deck was going to look like and what the images were going to, like what theme it had been built around, you are going to be seriously disappointed because that is not what you are getting at all. And it's a shame because it's like on the book she does she is the author, is the
I believe she uses she, her pronouns.
Okay. It says inspired by deities, folklore, and fairy tales from around the world, but it's definitely more folklore and fairy tales than deities. But I mean, I do like it, and I am a sucker for fairy tales and folk tales, and I love that whole. I love being able to find such a fun, interesting way into other people's cultures and stuff.
So it is beautiful.
I just wish it was on different cardstock.
I love the cardstock. Love
Me
it.
Me too. Cardstock is awesome.
This one, although this is not the worst linen cardstock I've ever seen. So it's not like Game of Thrones is some of the worst linen cardstock I've ever seen.
I love that.
You can literally see the linings, like the hatch lines on those. And this one's not so bad. I know, and I hate it. It's meh.
Oh my goodness! I heard.
Yeah, I think the title, if it had something more to do with myth or legend or folklore, would make a lot more sense than Tarot of the Divine. I don't know if Yoshi Yoshitani does Disney illustrations. Do you guys know?
I feel like she has been commissioned. I mean, for like an odd job here or there, maybe. But I could be mistaken.
I mean, you could totally believe that by looking at the artwork, because there is that sort of Disney style to it. Just look, it's so sad.
Yeah, that one to me was, I was like, what's going on there? Like that story was an interesting story, which I don't remember now.
Which one is it? Sorry.
8 of Swords, which is, what is the?
I forget. Is that to do with a donkey?
Donkey skin. Yeah, it's French. Apparently.
Yeah. That was just, I think my whole thing with that deck was that I knew that in order to read fluidly with it, I would have to genuinely like study and learn all of the stories, and that is just always like, so it's like sometimes I feel like putting in that much effort with a deck, and then other times I'm just sort of like, yeah, this is a really wonderful deck, but I don't feel like I want to learn all of that to get the deck. And so that's kind of what ended up happening. I bought the deck. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was fabulous. The accompanying book was so gorgeous. And then I just like never got around to putting the work in,
Yeah. And especially if I mean, to Heather's point, if you can overlook the fact that it is based on myth and you just want to take it by its images and just kind of read with it that way, that's one thing. But I know myself, and knowing that they're based on certain stories, I would then want to know what the stories are. And then, and then would I get locked into that particular interpretation all the time? And yeah, like I don't mind putting in more work with a deck. Like for instance, herb crafters. That's going to take me a lot of work. I know nothing about plants. Nothing. I'm willing to do that for sure with something like
Herb Crafters has a system. Like that's the thing about Herb Crafters.
Yeah, it has a system. Yes,
it does an elemental and numerological system, which this deck doesn't really have that same elemental numerological system.
Right.
That to me is what makes it even harder.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Well, and just like the subject matter of plants and my wanting to get to know more about them, and or even something like Spirit Keeper's Tarot, you know, that is a deck I'm willing to put the work into because I want to. Something like this, like more folklore, I don't know. You know, it's just kind of like
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Vintage Moon is saying. I personally, I think this is a deck that you can literally just read straight out the box. You don't need to know any of the stories in order to be able to work with this deck. I mean, I certainly don't. And even I've had it. I think I got it when it came out. What was that? Early last year, maybe the year before.
Okay, so then
I still haven't worked my way through all the stories, and I still am very comfortable reading with it. It's just when I want to put the extra work in to get that extra background info, I can do that.
But then would you say then if you're using it in that specific scenario, it wouldn't necessarily be a beginner's deck? Because like, so say that, okay, Tarot of the Divine, misleading in itself, right? Love somebody comes across it, they love the artwork. They're just going to, perhaps they're newer with the tarot, and they're just going to use the deck based on its images and based on that little white book that comes with it. Do you think that is sufficient? Because I don't know what comes in that little white book, but do you think that is sufficient enough for say a newbie to learn? Because say for the Eight of Swords, I would be looking at that picture. It's like, why is she freaking wearing donkey? Like what? And then does the little white book at least give some indication of that kind of imagery detail, or is it just
not massive, but it gives keywords. It gives upright and reversed keywords.
Okay,
so I'm trying to think of the best way to answer your question. But so for me, I think my opinion of any deck is I don't think that a beginner, just going by my own experience, necessarily could learn the tarot from any deck and just its guidebook. I think that you need supplementary materials of other books or other information. So I don't personally, even when I'm talking about beginners decks, I'm not necessarily looking for a deck where you could learn the entire system just by owning the deck and the guidebook.
Yeah. So that's not a little white book. It's like, this is what the tarot is. This is the major arcana. This is the minor arcana.
You do get a little bit of that. So you get at the beginning, you get some keywords for the suits and the numbers and how to read tarot and a few spreads for you to try and stuff, but it's not like, it's not this is the only tarot book you'll ever need.
Right. Okay. Just curious. Okay.
I agree with this Vintage Moon saying, like, yeah, it's fine to read it out of the box, but if you want to put the time in, if the deck interests you that much, that I think that was kind of my thing with it. Like, sure, I probably could have read it straight out of the box because, like I can read tarot, like, so I know what the cards mean just because I know what they mean. But I felt like in order to do justice to the deck and like what the intention was behind the deck, that I needed to learn a whole lot more. And I think I felt like I just wasn't really doing justice to the deck unless I really took the time to like learn all of that stuff. But that's probably not true. I mean, I'm sure that, like you get to know that stuff over time working with it. And I mean, so I'm sure it's just my own hang up.
When you read your deck like that from
Does only do you get a FOMO feeling? Personally, no, but I don't really get a FOMO feeling from anything. It's not really an issue that I have in general.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it FOMO, just like more like it's just my nature to be like, well, I know that this is based off these stories. Like, I'm just gonna want to know it all. Like, I want to. This would be a deck where I'd want to know it all.
But and like, just to clarify, I do want to know it all, but I also don't
need to.
No, I do. Well, I don't need to, but what I don't necessarily need to know it all right now.
Yeah. No, I would though. I totally would.
Yeah. And sometimes I do want to really dig in, and I want to just, like I say, sometimes I just want to draw some cards, and I want to spend some time not reading the cards in any other way other than spending time with the stories and trying to understand the specific choice that was made between the story and the card, and just enjoying being in story time. I don't know how else to say that, because I love to read and I love stories, and I think stories are how we make sense of the world we live in and the world that other people live in, and so much of that is built into the joy of this deck for me. But sometimes I don't have the headspace for that. I don't have the time for that. I don't have the energy for that. But I still just want to draw some cards, and I still think this deck works really well for that. But you have to, I guess, then you have to be comfortable with knowing that you can work with a deck and work with it over a long period of time, and not necessarily have to know everything about it and understand it completely
totally
straight away.
And
that's something you have to be comfortable with.
Well, and it's interesting to me because people are kind of comparing it to Spirit Keepers, and weirdly enough, I don't have that problem with the Spirit Keepers. Like I was able to just sort of pull it out, but I think maybe it has something to do with the fact that actually, like, some of the stuff underlying the Spirit Keepers, I'm not actually interested in knowing. Like, I don't really care about like Golden Dawn stuff or Kabbalah or like, I mean, there's a whole bunch of esoteric stuff in the Spirit Keepers that I just don't care if I ever know, because it just is not that interesting to me. Whereas I feel like this deck, like, I would be so interested. Like, I really do want to know all these stories and everything. And so I think that's maybe why it felt overwhelming.
Yeah. And also just, I think, mentally setting myself up for the fact that it is a Benabel Wen deck. And hence it is, like, because I know that if I were to come at it like I come at it with, many other things, like I want to know everything all at once so that I can use this deck right away to its fullest capacity, I would be setting myself up for such failure and self-loathing and disappointment. Like, so I just know, like, I knew going in, it's like, no, this one's going to take me forever and ever. And I'm just going to relish that. I'm going to, really lean into that. But Terror of the Divine, different story. I don't know why.
See, and that's one of the things I love about it. And I think that's the beauty for me is, we talk about in spaces there's been conversations a lot about depth, like how do we go deep with our decks and that kind of thing. And I think I really, one of the things I really appreciate about this deck is that when I'm in the mood for depth, it offers me that option. And when I'm feeling pretty damn shallow, it also offers me that option, and it works both ways for me, and I love that about it.
No, it is a beautiful deck. It's a great deck. I know a lot of people really enjoy it. Yeah,
we are all a bunch of know-it-all wannabes.
Yeah, it's true. We're all such pretentious bitches.
All right, if I don't know everything, I don't want to talk about it.
I see. I think it must be a personality thing, because I'm quite comfortable with not knowing stuff. I'm like, do I need to know? Probably not.
Yeah.
I can live quite comfortably in those spaces where I know nothing.
For sure. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. So Robin asks, with Spirit Keepers, can you enjoy the deck without reading the whole guidebook and maybe even the whole holistic tarot book? But I feel like you can. Like, you totally can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I don't know. For some reason with that one, And it's interesting too, because I think especially with the most recent Spirit Keepers edition, she was super intentional about the idea of like, I, I want to make this so that you don't need to know everything in order to
Right.
use it. Like
Right.
I want to make it so that it works out of the box, but if you want to go deeper with it, you can. And she was like really explicit talking about that, I feel like. And so maybe
Mhm.
that's part of what made it feel like less, overwhelming to me. I don't know. So yeah,
I agree.
Heather's on a need to know.
And most of the time, I don't need to. I'm like, you want to be happy? Be dumb.
Yeah.
Know nothing. That's how you're happy most of the time.
Yeah.
Refuse to know anything.
Yeah.
You can. Yeah.
Yep, totally. Yeah. Spirit Keepers is a lifetime of learning, but I can use it. Yeah, absolutely. You
Yes,
just
exactly.
you use it up until how much you already know, and it's totally usable in that way. And in all fairness, I'm pretty sure Tarot of the Divine would be like that too.
Exactly.
So
probably
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not a difficult deck.
No.
I don't think it's a difficult deck.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do think with like the Spirit Keepers, the little white book does give you, if you wanted like a little bit, like I feel like the little white book does give you just what you need to know to use that deck without getting the chonker of the book of maps. It's
right.
Whereas, so that's why I was curious about the book for the Tarot of the Divine and how much it was actually very, helpful or not.
I loved with the Vitruvian Spirit Keepers how there was the little white book, the medium white book, and then the book of maps. It was like it was like literally packaged so that you could decide how deep
what you wanted.
It was great. Yeah.
Thought of everything. I was like, oh, love it. All right.
Cool. Well, any other thoughts on Tarot of the Divine?
Well, it definitely, it makes me kind of curious to see what it would be like just to try to disregard the stories and needing to know all the story. I mean, I did read the book, right? But now
you already know all the stories.
Well, sort of. I've kind of forgotten because my memory's shit. But like, anyway, but it's beautiful. It is beautiful.
I'm borderline OCD and a wannabe know-it-all. I can't with Spirit Keepers. Maybe I'm retired in a cute cozy cottage. That sounds great, actually.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I'll retire in a cute cozy cottage and learn all of the decks that I never had and all the systems I never had time for. So
yep.
Love
Absolutely.
What's Robin's question? Question is, should Tarot of the Divine come with a book, or should a book of fairy tales come with a deck of cards? Which supplements which?
I mean, they do. I think that that's hard because the book, like I said, it doesn't reference the tarot. So if you were going to use it as a companion book, it's almost like I would have to look at the card and be like, how many pentacles are there? 1, 2, like I would have to count like the elements, or it would be a guessing game because it's not formatted content wise for it to be like a tarot guidebook. It is a storybook. I see it as a storybook.
See, this is something that I think, Julie, I know you have this deck. You know the Seams Tarot deck?
Yes.
That came with a PDF, which I think it does that really, really well. So it gives you so much information about the particular myth or legend or folklore that the card is depicting, and also gives you so much information about the card from a tarot perspective. And I actually think I do enjoy that deck, but I think that deck's biggest selling point for me is its guidebook. Its guidebook is fantastic. They could have done with a little more proofreading, but otherwise it's fantastic.
This is a really good point from Tarot Student. Isn't that true for tarot itself? I can read the cards without knowing anything esoteric, or I can learn everything about the gold. And you're totally right. You're totally right. Yeah, absolutely. You can go as deeper as you want with all of it, and you can do that right away.
Which raises quite an interesting thing, doesn't it? Which I was just thinking about. It's like because yes, every single deck, but nearly every single deck that we buy, even if you just buy an RWS, a straight forward
yeah.
RWS,
Oh, that's
you're
esoteric.
still in that same thing. You can
Yeah.
you can choose to just read it on a surface level. You can choose how deeply you want to dive into it. But there's obviously something about creating a very specific system of that causes some people, you two, to have this like, but I would need to know everything about that deck in order to be able to use it, which you don't have for other tarot decks. It's interesting. It's an interesting.
Yeah, I think it's like the themed decks when there's a specific theme that's attached. Then I feel like, well, I need to know more about that theme. Whereas with like a standard RWS, I mean, it's meant to be more kind of universal. So I think that's kind of my thing.
Or just wanting to know more about that theme, probably. Like,
just wanting to know.
I think it's a want to know. You know, like it's like, you know, if I bought the Buffy tarot, which I'm hoping very much will be an actual good tarot, you know, because I love Buffy and I know the stories and I've watched the show like 15 times, and because of that, like I can bring that understanding to bear, and that makes it really fun. And it's like I want to be able to do that with the Tarot of the Divine.
Yeah,
too, you know?
exactly. Yeah. So like with the Buffy tarot, I want to have watched the entire series by the time that deck comes out, and also hear what, like, you know, Buffy stans have to say about the deck before I would even consider buying the deck.
Yeah, this one too. Yeah, that deck, absolutely. The Fairies Tarot. Yeah, that one definitely, because every suit is like an individual story in that one. So
fairies.
Yeah. That's that one that it's a Llewellyn deck, and it's got sort of like a Victorian fairy kind of vibe to the artwork, and each of the suits is like a story told beginning to end, like in the minor arcana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like follows the characters through a story.
I see. I'm sure if I saw the images, I would know which deck. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure I would kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the astrology, esoteric. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There's so much. So yeah, it is really just kind of cherry picking what it is that interests you. I mean, at least that's how I've been approaching it. You know, fingers crossed about the, at least it's fully illustrated. You know, so there is that.
There is that. I know we've got lots of people hoping that Buffy Tarot is good.
Yeah. From what I saw on the Instagram, the artist, I mean, he seems to really enjoy Buffy, and he's been reviewing the episodes and such. So he is doing his homework.
Sometimes it's hard with a theme, though. It's hard if it's a theme for something that you like really, because we've had our own discussions where me and Sarah have got a bit carried away picking which cards we would have for which. And I think when you're so like, I'm like Sarah, I've seen that like every episode like 15 times easily. If I went on Mastermind, do Americans even know what that is? But Buffy would be my specialist subject. I could talk about that for hours without stopping. And so in my head, whether I realize it or not, there are going to be very specific choices that I make. And if the artist hasn't made those same choices, that for me may mean that I don't think the deck is good, even though his choices are still good.
Right. Yeah.
That's true.
It's a strong preference thing. Like I've heard people being like, if they don't get like the Lover's card right, or you know, like like certain archetypes, it's like if they don't choose, you know, Willow for whatever, then it's done. Like I'm not even gonna.
I think that's when you're really invested in a fandom in any way. Like it's really difficult to accept you're not going to get your exact perfect. Choice, unless of course you make your own.
Right. Yeah, although, you know, like with the Game of Thrones tarot, for example, I mean, there are some cards that I would change, but on the whole, I still love the deck, and I think it's like super well done. So you know,
I agree, actually.
So I think that, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be perfect, but you know, are there some deal breakers for me? I don't know. I'll have to see. We'll have to see about the
I won't know if they're deal breakers until I see them. That's the problem. Until I see the card and go, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that. I don't like it. Make it go away.
It was so funny when we were talking about the Buffy tarot, like we had a whole like separate side chat and everything where we were talking about like the Buffy tarot, and was the whole reason we never actually like started making a deck just because you can't get good images of like from like Buffy episodes, or like why did we never go further with that?
I don't know.
I think like, well, getting the screen grabs, well, then just having to print them.
Yeah,
Like it would
That's
be a
also true.
copyright thing. I think that was the thing. It's like I'm sure you guys would have had no problems getting screen grabs. But yes, quality, and also just if you actually wanted to make a doable, like a usable tarot deck, you'd have to go to what, NPC, and they would be like, excuse me.
Yeah, no. We take issue. Yeah.
I think that's a tarot student has a really good question. Do you think you'd like? And it's such a good question that I don't actually know the answer to it. From myself, I don't know. I genuinely don't know if I would prefer to know nothing and learn about it from the deck, or if I would want to know everything and I would get more from that. I genuinely don't know.
I think it's, for me, it'd probably be a case by case basis on level of interest. You know, so for me, Buffy, for that one, I want to have watched the entire show before, you know, getting the deck, if I even get the deck. I have the Golden Girls tarot. I used to love Golden Girls as a kid. Haven't watched it since. So like I am familiar with the general archetypes, the general character traits. I remember some of the episodes and details, but not everything. And I say that's actually worked in my favor in using the Golden Girls tarot, because then I'm not too locked in any particular like scenario or situation. Oh, we lost Sarah.
Where did she go?
Where did she go? She did not like the Golden Girls, apparently.
Apparently not. She's like,
no, I don't care. But yeah, so for me in that situation, it was just like not really remembering as much or knowing as much has helped me use that deck.
I don't know what I did. I don't know how I fell out of the stream, but I fell out somehow. So sorry about that.
All good.
Yeah.
So.
And Robin, yes, we did include a little white book with our boy band deck. And yes, so somebody totally unfamiliar with K-pop or BTS could use that deck and enjoy it.
Yes.
Yes. We're very proud of the book, in fact.
Yes.
We were very deliberate. And I think that I'm going to blow our own trumpet a little bit here, but I think that it shows what you can do when you combine a love for the theme and a love for tarot, and how well you can actually make that work. Because we were very deliberate about our choices for every single card, based on the fact that we are all tarot readers. I think, anyway, like I think we did an amazing job.
Oh, we totally did. Please.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
Okay.
Who's next?
I'll
go.
All right. So my fall deck.
Somebody move.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, hold on. But
you good, Julie? You good?
I'm sorry. I'm just reading Tarot Geeks about the copyright. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Huh. Okay. So, sorry. Distracted. Squirrel. My deck is the Hush Tarot. This is my choice for fall deck, and I would say it's even a nice kind of transition, like summer into fall, because you have some images that feel very kind of like, you know, steaming bog of decay vibe. So but I see it as more of like a fall deck, and it is definitely one where this deck isn't for everyone, for sure. I know people have opinions on it, but this is by Jeremy Hush, hence it's called the Hush Tarot. And you've got this little book as the guidebook, little white book, whatever. It's by US Games. And so, look, I mean, I really should take note of the fact that if US Games puts a deck in a box like this, that means it is unshuffleable and I just need to stay away. However, you know, lesson learned. I already bought the deck. It was a gift to my birthday gift to myself. So it's fine. And I actually just recently put a video up in anticipation of this 3 girls because I did resequence this deck to make it work for me better. So if any of you are interested in the reasoning behind how I sequenced it, you can catch that video after this live. So I'm not going to get into that here, but I will say, so here are the backs. I just really think these images are so beautiful. It's like my cup of tea, because there's also like creep factor that I also enjoy. This is a very nature-based, I would say, deck. And what I love is that it is a mixture of like, creatures and animals, and then also human figures. So I think that helps me out. And then you've got cards like this, where it's like a lot of cats and kittens creeping out from the woodwork. And while people might find this creepy, I find it hilarious. I want to say, like Sarah, you were talking about how the Bohemian Gothic just like cracks you up. You think it's like the most hilarious thing. Like, and I did not find that deck hilarious. I found it creepy, and not in a way that like that I enjoyed. But this, I would say, this is my Bohemian Gothic, where it's like you would think I would be more creeped out by some of these images, and I am not. I thought I would be, and I'm not. I thought that one of the reasons that I bought this deck was that I wanted to work around my issues regarding death, and I've heard that this is a great deck for like death positivity, etc., because it is very much speaking to the cycle of and specifically focusing on, there are a lot of dead, dying figures and aspects, and this whole idea of it all goes back to the earth, and then we begin the cycle again, kind of story. And I came to realize that actually, so visually, this is, for me, my issue with death, I've recently just pinpointed, it's not corporeal. So that's why these images don't bother me. And that's why this deck actually doesn't work for me as like a deck to explore what my issues are, which more is like mental. In thinking about like afterlife, or the existence of, or lack of, or things leading up to. Anyway, this is not to say that if you like these images, it's not to say that you can't use it in that way. I know that other people have. I once used this deck. We did have a recent death in Matt's family, and so I used this deck to ask a question about how to navigate that, because ultimately for me, whenever there's a death, it always then comes back to me and my family, and it's just that fear, right? And I would say that honestly, I don't know that this deck really helped. I mean, in a sense, like, it answered my question, but I just don't think for me this is the deck for that.
I really love Beth's comment here about it being very specifically reminiscent of the month of November, and about like decay and death, and
mossy smell.
Yeah, and how that really fits in with the fall theme that we're talking about. Like it does like address death in a very sort of like literal, specifically, referencing like death and death's role in nature. And like I think that is really cool. But I can see, Julie, what you're saying about how, if your worry about death isn't necessarily about like, returning to the earth, and if it's really just about like existence or non-existence, then this deck doesn't really address that.
It doesn't. Not to say that I can't, to some others, but for me, that just, this is not the deck for that. This, for me, I use it as like, I'm in the mood for this kind of like vibe. I'm in the mood for this like dark decay, reeking, steamy decay, rot vibe. And harpies and beautiful birds. And I mean, I really just love like the nature aspect. It is so strong in this deck. And also for people, you know, I've heard people say like it is very fey. And not like the Tinkerbell Victorian fairy fey. This is more the gritty, like maybe Brian Froud fey. So if that's the kind of vibe you're going for, this might be something you'd want to look into. Like, I think this is hilarious. I think it's just so funny. And like this, I mean, a lot of people find this image maybe creepy. I think it's hilarious. I just think it's so funny. I made this the 3 of Pentacles, and I think it's funny. You know, that this bird is like creating its habitat on top of this person's head, you know. Whether they like it or not, they're going to be helping this bird out with creating its nest, you know.
I love it.
So let's see. Beth is saying, Julie, may I point out again? I think the 5 of Swords is Teddy Roosevelt. I can see that. I actually can see that. Did I? Oh, here. I just found it.
Oh, that does look like Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah. Now I'll never unsee that. Thanks, Beth.
Yeah. Actually, Teddy Roosevelt and the 5 of Swords, when you're talking about nature, there's a lot of interesting, you could explore a lot of interesting stuff there.
I probably could.
That is interesting.
I probably could.
That is very interesting. Teddy Roosevelt's relationship with nature was interesting.
It was.
Yes.
Certainly it was.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, I mean, again, I resequenced it because I suspect that a lot of this artwork was pre-existing. I couldn't really find any substantiated information on that. But I feel like a lot of this might have been pre-existing artwork, and then like Jeremy Hush went in and filled the gaps and made the rest of the artwork to complete the deck. But I have no way of knowing for sure. And so I made this work for me, but this is not to say that you can't. I mean, just off the top of my head, like I know Kelly from The Truth and Story, she uses this deck as is. She has like a really long video that I confess I did not watch the whole thing, but you know, she clearly loved it the way it was. And I know that Sorsha, I believe Sorsha's Soaring Craft, something like that. She also uses this deck as is, and Thea, Garden Goddess Tarot. So there are ways I would suggest you check those YouTubers out if you're interested in using this deck as is. Or
I'm just reading those comments, Sarah, that you were putting up, like Julia and then Tarot Student, and that's exactly where I am with it. Like, I think the artwork in this deck is absolutely freaking stunning. I would have it on my wall. What I really want is a book of just the artwork, like just a book that I can flick through and leave out and look at. As a tarot deck, I go back and forth on this so many times because I'm so in love with the way that it looks.
Yeah.
But as a tarot deck, ultimately, it just doesn't work for me.
That's fair. Absolutely fair. I mean, I had to make it work for me.
Yeah.
I had to make it work. And I was fucking determined because I'm like, I bought this deck, damn it. And I'm going to make it work. Like, I'm going to do it.
The
Because
artwork
is beautiful. Art is really
It's
beautiful.
really stunning.
beautiful.
It really is stunning.
And ultimately, again, this is not, for me, this is not like an everyday deck. This is for sure a mood deck. If I'm in a kind of mood, I will pull this out. And I think that this is certainly a good like fall mood deck.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. And again, I don't find it creepy. I know a lot of people do. I don't find it creepy.
Yeah, I definitely I've never heard anybody call it creepy. I don't doubt for a second that people do, but I'm actually surprised that that's how people refer to the artwork, because to me it doesn't have a creepy vibe at all. I think that it has, you know, returning to nature and death and that kind of stuff, but to me that isn't creepy. That's just
well, just I mean, like her, I can see some people being like, oh, she looks kind of creepy. You know, so there are some. Oh, and another thing, and I mentioned this in my video, that like bald vag really annoys me when it comes to like a nature-based deck. How are you going to have this feel? It feels sometimes a little bit like Oh, okay. Yeah, I can tell this from a male lens because all that is bald. And I did color, just FYI, I did color. And so this is modified in that way. So the images that you see here aren't exactly how they originally are.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You added bush.
I added bush. I sure freaking did.
Yeah.
And
We don't mean bush in the shrubbery sense.
yeah, no, I don't. We're talking rose bush, you know,
Yeah.
we're talking rose because honestly, it's like, how can you have such like a natural nature-based deck and then have all, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. See, I think Vintage Moon, that's a perfect word. It does have a somber vibe. And I do agree with that. And I do think if I was going to describe this deck, I would use words like somber, melancholy, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Creepy to me is a completely different type of mood that I don't get from this artwork at all.
Yeah.
Also, I don't get tarot from this artwork.
Something like this, maybe people might find. I'm just trying to, like, I don't, but I'm just trying to think of, I have described this one as a bit creepy. This one to me is a little bit creepy. You know, this decayed face and these, and also like, you know, again, doesn't bother me, but I can see how other people would think this is kind of, you know, would be creepy. But yeah, it's just, it is somber for sure. It is somber. And yet I can find, oddly, I can find some cards kind of amusing just by the way that I restructured it. So yeah.
Are you able to show the magician again that Beth added?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that would be awesome.
Magician.
Now I'm very curious to see it too. I need to look closer.
Yeah, and it's funny because the magician, I thought in the very beginning I would have issues with that because it's a card where there's an animal that is clearly deceased and it went in a not so great way. But again, because this is so nature based, and you can read so much into this image and how this creature came to be with this magician. You could just, there's so many ways that you can interpret this card. And so I actually do appreciate it. I mean, this could be a nefarious wolf. This could be a wolf that she, you know, was killed and then because she's almost like cradling it lovingly. So it could be that she's, you know, she's taken its body and kind of released the spirit. There's very much like this kind of definitely magician vibes, definitely like conduit vibes. And it just feels very, I don't know, just very real and potent, just everything about it. So to me, and you know, it's just, and I guess the way the wolf is drawn, it feels very different than like more of a realistic wolf. If I saw a decapitated realistic wolf, I maybe would feel a little sadder. But yeah, the story here is very interesting. At least the one I've made up in my head. Like the guidebook doesn't, I mean, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't really.
I was just having exactly that thought. I was like, it's got to be. I mean, she's wearing a red dress. It's got to be a very deliberate nod to
Little Red Riding Hood. Yeah,
right. That's got to have been a deliberate choice.
Wouldn't know because they don't say it in the guidebook.
Okay,
so somebody was just saying that he went through like on his Instagram and explained a lot of the. I'm like scrolling way back now because somebody mentioned it a while ago. But
yeah, it was
who was it? Somebody was super helpfully mentioned that his Instagram. Oh, here it is, Tarot Geek. He did a deep dive, went through all his Instagram comments about his art. It helped me understand some of the cards and where he was coming from.
So then, Tarot Geek, was this in fact art created for this deck? Or, I mean, is he the one that curated the art himself? I mean, I guess it must be that he actually chose his own art to then make a deck. Or I guess I'm not clear on if this was pre-existing work or he always had a tarot deck in mind and created these images to be a deck, because a lot of the images were very hit and miss for me, which is why I resequenced it. And I found that this did not help to rectify my issues with being able to stand by the pairings. I was just like, I can't get with this at all. Because like, for instance, the magician, like, yeah, there really is no reference. It says the magician is the tie between the spirit and the physical world. This card represents the balance between the wild of the inner animal and the calm of the aligned mind. The wolf has long been linked with humanity. While early hunter-gatherers were equipped with hands to wield tools, the wolf was armed with enhanced senses, eyes that can see in the dark, smell, speed, and agility. Together, our skills advance each other. The magician has the fortitude to bridge that relationship, discover those forgotten powers, balance the primitive and sophisticated, hold it tightly, manifest the power to help, not hinder.
That's interesting.
It's so, certainly it's not like a cookie cutter templated boilerplate, like here's the magician,
right, yeah,
and whatever. So in that way, this might be fantastic for, again, people who just want to use the deck as is. Forget the Rider-Waite-Smith, and just kind of use it with this as is. Oh, pre-existing work. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Julie here says it sounds like an Oracle guidebook. Yeah.
Conundrum. Yeah. And I mean, so it's not to say that I don't think, if so it sounds like he's the one that curated his own work. I'm sure there was thought put into it. But to Heather's point, it didn't work as a tarot deck for me as he curated it. So
yeah.
He made it my own. And now I love it. So yeah.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I still need to watch that video of yours. I didn't get to it.
Oh, don't worry.
I would have had more intelligent questions to ask you if I watched it in advance, but I didn't get a chance yet.
I watched it and I still have no more intelligent questions to ask.
Okay.
I did, but I found it fascinating and very brave, because I have never thought of rethinking a deck. I wouldn't even know how to go about doing that.
Well, it's fun. It's a fun exercise. I mean, because I did that with the beautiful creatures, and I was just like, I could. Do I really want to? Do I really want to put the time? Yes, I do. I actually really like these images a lot.
Yeah.
So I want to make it work.
I really wanted to do that with the John Bauer tarot.
Yeah.
The problem was that the only way I could think of to do it, because I'm not as awesome as you in terms of like thinking, oh, I could cover them up with some pen and write something different on. I was like, oh, if I cut off the bottoms, it'll make the backs all funky looking. And then it was like, the whole thing just felt like too much of a project. So I never got around to doing it, but I really wanted to do that with the John Bauer tarot because I loved the artwork, but it was just like some of the cards I was like, why is this the Knight of Cups, like, and not the Knight of Swords? Like there were just some cards that just didn't make sense to me. So
right. Did you ended up rehoming that deck? Did you?
Yeah, I ended up rehoming it instead. Yeah, because again, it was one of those ones where it was like, I would like to have this artwork in a book, but it's not necessarily like a usable deck for me. So
Julie, did you find though that you had to? I mean, I think you talk about this bit in the video, but did you find that there were some cards that you just kind of like, you were like, okay, I've got these cards left over, and I've got these cards that I've got to fill, so I'll just put these ones here?
Honestly, I had more of an issue with that with the beautiful creatures than I did with this. There were some where, maybe I a couple where I'm just like, like I can make this work a little more. If I had other choices, this wouldn't be my choice necessarily, but I can still make it work. Like the pheasant in the that I made the 10 of Pentacles. The pheasant was originally the King of Swords, and I'm like, what in tarnation am I going to do with this freaking pheasant? What am I going to, and then it came to me, and I thought it was good enough, my interpretation. But yeah, so there were one or two for sure. But actually, I think Beautiful Creatures was a little more challenging in that respect. Because with Jasmine Beckett's artwork, it is a lot of like up close, face, whereas Jeremy Hush does give you more to work with. There is a lot going on in a scene, so that yeah.
Do you still have your changed up Beautiful Creatures now that you've made the JBG, the Notorious JBG?
I do have it just for nostalgia purposes. Just kind of like, And I also think it's really interesting to see, again, just kind of revisit his choices and then mine.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be, it's not like I'm going to make a unfair comparisons video with those two, because that would just be, I would feel shitty about that.
Although I would watch that because that would be interesting.
I'm not brave enough. I'm not going to do it. So.
All right.
Yeah, so that's it. And so any other questions? It's beautiful deck. And yeah, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. But what deck is?
No deck is
yeah, exactly.
All right. Shall we move
Your turn.
next? My turn. I'll put myself in the middle. Here I am. Okay, so the deck that I wanted to talk about for an autumn deck is the Pagan Otherworlds. And there's a couple of reasons why I think of this as being an autumn deck. One is just like the color palette. Obviously, there's a lot of just, brown tones and neutral colors in it. But it also has a sort of like, I don't know, it feels autumny because it has a sort of like austere feel. Like it's not like melancholy precisely, but it does feel very sort of like neutral and straightforward and not like too much in any way. It has a little bit of a like not, I don't even know what word I'm looking for. Austere is probably the best word that I can think of for it. But I absolutely love this deck. It's just such a favorite for me. I think it has, especially in the courts and in the majors, there is definitely there is a sort of like classical or like Renaissance style artwork feel to it, but there's also a very strong sort of like fae energy to a lot of the figures that are depicted. And the one thing that I will say about this deck is that a lot of people think of this as being a pip deck. And I will agree that it is pippish, but this is a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Like that is the way that it is intended to be read. If you look at the pips, what you'll see is that even though the pips are really front and center in the imagery, the surroundings of the pips give you a clue to the meaning, and the meaning is specifically the Rider-Waite-Smith meaning. So I feel like this is a deck where if you are familiar with Rider-Waite-Smith, this actually reads really easily. Like you don't need to learn a different system or anything like that. You don't need to read this like you would, numerologically and elementally, like you would generally read a pip deck. Like it really is a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And so I absolutely love this one. Like I think I've said before how much this deck feels like a quest through a fantasy world, like it's this world where it's not necessarily like a comfortable world to be in, because all of the figures in it are a little bit weird and sort of, they all like maybe look a little bit forbidding. Like they don't look super approachable for the most part. But it's so beautiful, and it's just an interesting like journey that you kind of take through this world, and you're like getting clues from all of the sort of vistas and landscapes and strange characters that you meet. It's like almost like a video game where they're all like non-player characters that you have a conversation with. So yeah, so I absolutely love this one. I think it's just a really, really special deck, and it definitely has a very strong autumnal feel to me. So anyway, so yeah, that's the Pagan Otherworlds. This deck doesn't come with a guidebook. There is a separate guidebook that Usi sells. It's very beautiful, a very beautiful book. It's it's not like, I don't think it's essential by any means to being able to read with this deck, because again, I do really feel like this is it's a Rider-Waite-Smith deck above all. So so I do think that it is actually pretty easy to just kind of pick this deck up and read with it. So yeah, it's really like, here you can see in the 5 of Pentacles, there's a bunch of snow and bare trees, and it definitely gives you really a lot of information about each card's meaning, just right there in the imagery, even though it is very, very Pippish in having the pips front and center. So yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any any questions about this one? I feel like I don't have a lot more to say about it other than it's just gorgeous and I love it. So
I can't make up my mind about this deck. Like sometimes I love it and I don't know why I don't already own it.
mm-hmm.
And other times I'm not sure I like the artwork. But then sometimes I do like the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of those decks where I if I had it, I would have to be in a very specific frame of mind in order to work with it. And that's maybe why I've just never gone ahead and bought it. But this is one of those decks that I've like, even before I really knew about Tarot Tube and Tarot World, I knew of this deck.
Yeah, same. This is linen cardstock.
So this is linen, and my edition I think is the second. I want to say it's the second edition of the deck, which was on linen. I know that Usi has like gone back and forth in terms of having that linen cardstock available. So there are some editions of the deck that are on smooth cardstock, and then some editions that are on linen. So, and I don't know specifically which are which because there have been a number of editions. So I don't. It's like this is the second edition that's on linen. I think the fourth edition was on smooth. Since then, I don't actually know. So so yeah, you'd have to look at the website to see. Yeah. But I will say that from a cardstock standpoint, this linen cardstock, it's not like crazy textured linen. I think it's much less textured actually than the Tarot of the Divine. And it feels like a playing card, like it's playing cardstock. Yeah. Or if you're familiar with the Playful Heart Tarot, it's the same cardstock as that. So it feels like a very high quality playing card deck. It's really a beautiful deck to shuffle. All the cards stay super flat. They never get bows in them. And it's so high quality in terms of the cardstock.
I always hear great things about Usi cardstock. Always. It's
gorgeous. Yeah. It's one of my faves, if not my fave of all time, the cardstock of this deck. So
yeah, I don't know why this deck never just, I don't know why. No.
Yeah, no, that is a mood that I totally get, because I'm trying to think of something like deep and intelligent to say, but I'm just like, I don't know why. I just have never liked it enough to just click the button.
It's at the pagan maybe it's like the kind of pagan slant. That's never been a theme that I've necessarily been drawn to. It's beautiful. I can appreciate that it is beautiful art, and I can see why you like it, Sarah, because it has that kind of like painterly quality to it.
It's like definitely a Sarah deck. I think.
Yeah,
it does surprise people that you love this artwork.
Yeah.
I love this artwork.
So for me, no, I think probably not.
It's definitely not a warm and fuzzy deck. Like there's no warmth to this deck. Like I said, it feels very austere. And I think one of the things that I really like about this deck is that it does feel like I'm traveling through a place that is unfamiliar to me and where I don't really belong potentially. But I'm learning so much from my surroundings and from these strange like people that I'm meeting, and so it feels otherworldly, and like I think that it does feel otherworldly. I think that the title of the deck is actually extremely apt, because like all these figures, they look like characters that you don't necessarily know how well you're going to relate to them. But they're going to have something very interesting to say to you. So I do agree that you kind of have to be in a particular, or for me at least, like this isn't a deck that I just pull out and read with when I need a hug, or like I want a reassuring reading or anything like that. Cause it doesn't have that kind of feel to it, but it has this really sort of like solitary quest kind of feel to it that I don't know. It's really magical and special. And so I really love that about it.
So when would you pull this out to use it? Would you say is just mood?
It's just mood. Yeah. Honestly, like there's a particular, and I do think like it's a really neutral deck. It's nothing about it feels positive. Nothing about it feels negative. It's just like neutral, you
Yeah.
know, it's so, and again, that's the thing that I really like about it. It's like when I want a straightforward answer on something, like I've pulled this deck out before for readings where it's like, okay, I feel like I'm having some wishful thinking about something and I really need to like get a straight answer, that isn't, you know, coddling me in any way. Like this
Mm-hmm.
kind of feels like that kind of deck. So,
Yeah. I can see it being neutral. I mean, just in essence, because it is a pip deck. And so that really lends to it. And I will say what I do like about this deck a lot are the pips. They're beautiful.
They're beautiful.
Those are not lazy pips by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all.
That is, I really love the pips. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And the, you know, the surroundings of like here, this is, you know, the 6 of Cups, and then the surroundings are like this homey little farm cottage, you know, like it definitely, they're all full of flowers. I mean, there's definitely very strong nods to the Rider-Waite-Smith in the imagery, even though the pips are like the main thing that you see.
Yeah.
Everything in the imagery is pointing towards the meaning. So it really is a very usable deck in that way. I feel like, you know, even like here's the 2 of Pentacles, and you can see it has like the ocean and the ships in the back, just like the Rider-Waite-Smith 2 of Pentacles. So it definitely, the 9 of Pentacles has the hooded falcon, you know, like all of those symbols, a lot of the symbols are very much present. They're just not quite as in your face as they are in the Rider-Waite-Smith. So yeah. So I love this one. It's very, very, very definitely a mood deck. Of Swords.
I think maybe that is like, I think maybe it's just a little bit too pippish for me. I think maybe that's what, like, just looking at it now, I think it's lovely. But I think maybe it's just too pippish. I don't know how else to phrase that in a way that isn't just me repeating the same thing over and over again.
No, and I can totally understand that. I mean, because it is pippish, like I'm sure, you know, like a lot of the artwork has no people in it or animals or any, you know, so I can see how that doesn't necessarily like, it doesn't feel like necessarily super inviting in a lot of ways. To me, again, I like that because I like that feeling of feeling like I'm traveling alone through this place, you know, and like I'm getting just clues from what I see. And so I don't know, it has a very specific feeling to me that I like, but I can see how that doesn't necessarily appeal all the time. So
yeah, Julian Bada is saying to me they look like characters in paintings I've seen in many German castles, especially the smaller hunting castles, nothing otherworldly more 2 centuries ago. Fantasy heroes. I can see that too. That's interesting.
Yeah. It is a really wonderful deck though. So yeah, and it's been around for a while, you know.
It has. It's like I feel like it's a, you know, it's a well-loved, beloved deck. People really enjoy it. Yeah.
Definitely. So anyway, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
So that's the Pagan Otherworlds. I don't know if anybody has any other questions about it, but
let's see what I've missed. Actually, Beth is asking, I wonder how did we already go over this? I'm sorry. I wonder how it would read with Greenwich.
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think from a color palette, they'd look really beautiful together. I don't know. They almost feel like totally different worlds to me. like the Greenwich actually has a really sort of inviting kind of cottagecore sort of feel to it, you know, like the Greenwich feels like Hobbiton, and this feels like, you know, when you're out like journeying through the wilds of Middle Earth and you're not like in the Shire. So, you know, but from a palette standpoint, I think they would look really gorgeous together. So
yeah. Lola Singster has a thing for austere decks, hence the fountain. It actually does remind me of that in some ways.
Sometimes like neutrality, it just feels really it feels really sort of open and like freeing, you know, to your mind, and it just like it gives you like room to breathe, I guess. So yeah, there are some times when I really like a deck like that.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so I think we've caught all the.
Ooh, I love this one. You're drawn to be a part of this other world. You're the main character in the pip cards. Like, I can totally see that. Yeah. Yeah. Totally
then
get that.
do you pair it with another deck? Which decks?
I'm trying to think if I've ever even. I don't usually pair this like specifically with a deck. I'm trying to think if there's ever been a specific time where I thought that there was an oracle that went really well with it. But it's been a while since I think I've used this with any other deck. So, yeah, I think I just normally use this one
on its
own. Yeah, it just kind of is its own thing,
Long. Are they quite long, the cards? They look quite long.
They're pretty much average tarot size. I guess they're a little bit bigger. Here I'll compare it. Like this is a standard tarot size. This is a the Marlon tarot, so this is a standard like NPC deck.
Yeah, a little taller, a little wider.
Yeah, but not significantly so. They feel pretty manageable to me, I guess, and the cardstock is so easy to shuffle because it's very flexible, and so it's just it's a really manageable deck, I think. Sorry, I have a cat bonking.
No, we saw the cat.
She's like,
when she was here.
Yeah.
Ooh, Woodland Warden's Oracle goes with it good. I don't have that one. That would be interesting.
You say you do have that or you do not?
I do not have that.
I feel like aesthetically that would be beautiful, actually.
I think that would be really gorgeous too. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm just you know me, like I'm not a huge Oracle person in general. Like I'm very like, and I try not to buy too many Oracle decks. So
Yeah. And I don't know. It's interesting because I have thought about, maybe I should just like get rid of, and I don't have a lot of Oracle decks. I really have rehomed most of them, but I don't know why I can't let go of the idea that one day I will be able to use Oracle decks more regularly. Damn it.
Right. Yeah, I know.
I'm having exactly the same thing at the moment. I keep looking at my Oracle decks. I can't remember the last time I got an Oracle deck out, any of them. And I'm just like, at this point, I don't know why I'm keeping them. I'm not planning on buying anymore. I'm not even looking at Oracle decks anymore because I'm not using them. But then when I think, oh, maybe I should downsize them, and then I go through my list and I'm like, yeah, but I need to keep this one.
Yeah,
and I do like this one, so maybe I should keep this one too. And before I know it, I've gone through every deck I own and convinced myself of reasons to keep them.
Yeah,
exactly. I know. I do the same thing. It's like, oh, but I really like that one.
Yeah,
I do actually use itself. Well, often enough. Like
I might use it tomorrow.
I mean, I just never know. I want to say like a morning calm is one that I do use. The one that I made for myself is one that I do use. And then that's about all she wrote. And the other ones are great. And that's this thing though. It is where it's like, oh, I don't use it. Should I rehome it? No, but I may one day.
And I went through a stage where I did use them. I used them a lot. I always had a tarot deck and an Oracle deck on the go at the same time. And I paired them together. And, I've used every deck to quite significantly, but just lately, the last year or so, I just stopped using them completely. And I think because I did use them so much, my brain's like, yeah, but you do use them. You're just not using them right now.
Yeah. I definitely decluttered a lot of oracles. And so I really do feel like I have pared down to ones that I really, really genuinely like a lot. But then there are some of them too where it's like, even though I genuinely like it a lot, do I actually use it that much? Not so much, So, and there are a few where it's like, oh, but there are a couple of cards that I love so much that I don't want to be without them. But then again, self, are you using the Oracle? Not really. No, you're not. You really using it very much. I don't know. So
and it's just this odd thing because it's like, I mean, when I see videos of Oracle decks, it's like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. I want that so much. And I've been actually very good about just not buying them because I know better than to. And I'm just like, well, first, Julie, why don't you work with the ones you have? Why don't you use those? And then, then you can buy more if you are actually going to be using the decks. and also I don't want to force myself to use decks just to use them,
Yeah.
So,
I totally get that. The one oracle that has come out relatively recently that I've gotten so much out of is the Reclaim Oracle. Like, that deck just rocks. Like, I don't even, it is so freaking potent. Like, every time I pull a card from that deck, it just like wrecks me. So that's like one of the ones where I'm like, okay, there are like certain things that that an oracle deck can really do for me that where I really do need to hang on to it, that goes beyond just the aesthetic. But yeah,
I'm trying to think. I mean, I know it.
I don't know if I know it actually.
Reclaim is the one it's all black and pink, and all the figures in it kind of look not are a little bit weird looking, like they look a little bit like alien, not super peoply. But it's all black and pink, and all of the cards are like very specific pointed emotions, that it describes, and it's or emotions or concepts that are just very poignant, and it packs a serious punch, that deck. So
have you done a walkthrough? Oh yes, yeah, I know this one. Did you do a walkthrough of this already?
I've never done a walkthrough of it. No.
Why not?
Well, just there are other walkthroughs. I don't know.
Giving you a hard time. Totally giving you a hard time. But
there are always other really good walkthroughs out there.
Or maybe I mean, I'm sure people would. I would love to hear you're more about how it's impacted you, because as somebody who, again, complicated relationship with Oracle. Maybe I could give that a try. I don't know.
That one it hardcore kicks my ass every time. It truly does. So it's using it is always a little bit of a vulnerable experience, but it always it delivers a message. Like, for serious. So
And Jonathan saying there are only a few Oracle decks I reach for. Oracle that goes is great. It is. I had that one for a long time actually. Got myself Universal Dragon Oracle. Universal Dragon.
I'm also really bad with oracles because I will not spend a lot of money on them, which means I never buy indie oracle decks because I will not spend that much money on an oracle deck. And I don't know why. It's just a thing in my own brain where I'm like, I don't use them enough.
I can see that. Yeah, if you feel like you don't use them.
For me, I'm quite happy to spend £60 plus a bit of shipping on a tarot deck, but I would never even consider spending that kind of money on an oracle. I did all of the ones I own are mass market. So even if I got rid of them, they would be easy enough to replace if I changed my mind. But I don't want to do that either. I don't want to give things away just to bring them back again.
Yeah. I totally understand that.
Beth is saying that Reclaim Oracle seems out of the ordinary, just in general, or for Sarah. Like, I have to say, like, art-wise, I don't know how I feel about it art-wise. Like, I don't hate it. I don't like it. I don't.
It's not my aesthetic in any way. And yet what the art depicts in terms of how it captures the meaning of the card just gets you right in the feels. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it just really, it gets you right in the feels. So
I do know.
So and it like I said, it totally, the first time I ever looked at it, if I just took like a cursory look, I would be like, no, not for me whatsoever. And then I think somebody raised Lisa Papez's walkthrough, because I'm pretty sure hers was the one where I was like, holy shit, this deck looks amazing. And then I got it, and it is indeed amazing. So it's a really good walkthrough.
Okay, good to know. File that away.
It is powerful, Beth. Yeah, it's very powerful.
I don't need my decks to punch me in the face.
I was just saying that.
Me neither.
Well, again, it's, it does feel vulnerable. I mean, it's not like punching me in the face necessarily, but it is like, it points out something to me that potentially always points out something to me that potentially I didn't want to think about. So,
calls you out. Maybe.
Yeah, it calls you out. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, and it is very balanced in terms of darker and lighter cards. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Good to know about that
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
We should maybe we should do like an episode where we actually do an oracle deck,
Yeah.
because I don't think we've ever done an oracle.
Have we? Or I guess Weird Corners of My Psyche was sort of this. Like, we haven't done an episode yet where it's like decks I love that are not my aesthetic in any way,
Yeah, no, I don't.
which might be interesting.
Yeah, because Weird Corner of My Psyche is different. That I feel like
Mhm.
that's a little different than
Yeah,
not my
yeah.
aesthetic.
Mhm.
Wow.
But
Okay.
we can definitely, I mean, we're going to run out of tarot decks soon. Eventually, we're going to run out of options. Maybe Oracle is where we go when we run out of tarot options.
Yeah, we should do like
I love
everybody
doing
brings their
this, but
favorite
I'm not going to
oracle.
buy decks just so we can keep doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can put that on the list maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think Not My Aesthetic was a tag at one point, wasn't it?
It was
Yeah,
actually
Not My Aesthetic. And it would be fun to do.
Yeah.
It would be fun to do that. Like, it would be fun to do that, and it would be fun to do like an oracle specific episode. Yeah.
Because it's funny. Yeah, I mean, I did a similar video, which was like, it was like, this deck is not usually my thing, and it was the Tarot Dynamite as well. We're just gonna like, that one's all played out. I'll pick it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pick a new one.
But yeah, that's a great idea. And again, if any of you in the chat, anybody watching the playback, if you have any other themes that you maybe want us to tackle, let us know. And
next month, we're going to do spooky decks, aren't we?
Yes.
Halloween. Do you know what? I was looking at my decks this morning, and I was thinking about next time, and I was like, I could do that one. Oh, I could do that one. Maybe I could do this one. I was like, I have way too many.
Heather is like spooky deck. Yeah, I have like 2. I'm like, what decks actually qualify? I have the Bohemian Gothic and the Halloween Tarot.
I knew it. I knew those were the 2 that you. I knew it.
And the Halloween Tarot isn't even particularly spooky. It's just cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So spoiler alert. At least
maybe I'll try to think of something else.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that is our theme for the next time. Spoiler alert. Yeah. But yeah, any suggestions you guys have, we are free.
Yeah.
You're welcome to send them our way, and we will.
And they don't have to be like, it doesn't have to be deck suggestions. If you have to, like, we've done 3 Girls, 1 Controversial Conversation. We've like, if there's things that people want us to do a live on that's not about tarot decks.
Exactly. Any VRs maybe you want us to do that maybe we haven't done, or for sure do let us know, and we will consider accommodating if we choose. So yeah.
All right.
And I think that's it. I think we've covered everybody.
Everything.
Any questions? Such? Yeah. Sweet.
Awesome. Well, in that case, then I will just say our next episode, we just decided was it October 15th? Is that what
October 15th?
Yeah. October 15th. Yep, same time. It'll be on Julie's channel this time. And so that's only 3 weeks away, by the way. We're not doing our normal 4 weeks between because we delayed this one a little bit. So 3 weeks from today, October 15th, will be our next episode. As we said, we will be talking about spooky Halloween-y kinds of decks. So we're super excited about that one. And I do know as well that we will be hopefully filming relatively soon the next installment in the Raven's Prophecy series that we've been working on, where we are correlating the deck to the Raven Cycle series, which has been really fun. So we've got book 3 coming up. So we're going to be working on that relatively soon. And yeah. So thank you all again for attending. It's always so much fun. We love doing this. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great rest of your Saturday. And I am actually going to put up the ending screen this time.
Please do. Please do. We will wait for that.
Here we go. All
right, here we go. Yay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Are you going to end the broadcast?